All right, I'm Jason Cordeiro with MassBio. We're here at MassBio's first R&D Reimagined, and I'm now joined by Benoit Larose, CEO of Quebec. Their efforts are focused on building and supporting the biotech ecosystem in Quebec. Quebec is a longtime friend and partner for MassBio, so I am thrilled to have Benoit here to talk to us about the biotech scene in Quebec and maybe Canada at large. So I'm going to turn over to Benoit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Quebec?
Sure. So thank you very much for having me here today. As far as my background is concerned, I come from industry. I am born and raised in the life sciences sector for all my career. That dates back a long time ago. I hope you were born at that time when I started.
I'm sure I was.
But I really started, on the business side of things. So I'm not an engineer, not a PhD, not a scientist. But I've probably worked in all the segments of the life sciences sector in Canada, including big pharma, biotech, big device. I was CEO of a small medtech company for several years, was publicly traded on the Montreal and then Venture Stock Exchange in Canada. I did investment in the sector as well for a fund in the life sciences sector. But I've been involved in trade associations for the past 13 years now. 10 years with MedTech Canada as a regional VP for Quebec for that association. And I joined Quebec in May 2023. So it's my third year as a CEO of Quebec, which is the small cousin of MassBio in Quebec. So same function, non-for-profit, but private organization that is 100% focused on representing industry with all stakeholders, including governments, obviously. So we're the lobby group for the industry to make sure that Quebec is the best area in the world to start a company and build it. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we are working very hard to make it happen.
And you're doing a wonderful job, and I've seen through the last 7 years with being at MassBio, the growth of the biotech scene in Quebec and in Canada. And it's wonderful to see because you're great partnerships, and we want to see cures, therapies discovered everywhere, wherever good science can be found.
There's a lot of good science in Canada, in Quebec in particular. Lots of ties with Boston area and Massachusetts generally. That's why we have an agreement together. I think it's important that the trade associations capitalize on the relationship that is already there. I mean, investment firms tend to have common presence. We have several of our members that have a lab in the Montreal area and a lab in Boston. Several of our members also on the biotech services side that have a lot of business in the Massachusetts area and generally in the U.S. So we do have a lot of relationships business-wise that are well established for a long time. So it's normal that trade associations support that and keep on building on that natural tie that goes beyond hockey, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say we're very supportive of each other on the scientific front, maybe not so much
on the ice.
It's been a great battle though the past few years.
But we have a real winter in Montreal though.
So we take it easy. We like to keep it in the 40s around here. So when you look at all the global ecosystems, right, and everyone across the globe wants to build, for the most part, wants to build a biotech hub or really harness the science in their region. What distinguishes a region for early stage biotech companies? What's the value that a region can bring to a early stage biotech company, and maybe what are you doing in Quebec?
Okay, first I think in Quebec what is a distinguishing factor versus other hubs is the long history we have with drug development. I mean, a lot of top-notch research centers, public research centers, university that have been active for decades, that produce a lot of good science, good projects, or good assets, and that needs to be moved to the next stage of industrialization, and you need companies to do that. And Montreal has that. Quebec in general has it, but it's mostly concentrated in the Montreal area, although we have a nice hub in Quebec City and Sherbrooke as well. But basically, I think what makes the best qualities of a hub in life sciences, is the basis is science. So, research, early stage research, and then the capability to bring that to industrial level. Funding is important, and most importantly, the willingness to collaborate together. And in my experience, hubs that have tend to be a bit smaller, perhaps, need to be even more efficient, and that's a lot related to their capability of being in close collaboration. So there's a lot of that happening in Quebec.
For sure, and I think that's probably created what you have as a strong CRO base as well in the region. And how do you guys harness that base of great CROs to connect with early stage biotech companies?
Well, maybe it's worth reminding ourselves how come Quebec has so many CROs.
Yeah.
The drug industry, the pharma industry, had several phases. And back in the 90s, when the business model started to change, and big labs that were very much invested in Canada, in Quebec in particular, Merck and others, all had their own research facilities. Montreal produced a lot of molecules, for example, with the Merck campus. But in the 90s, the business model changed. There was some rationalization going on, and many big pharma companies chose to shut down their labs and outsource a great deal of their research. But the scientists that we had in these facilities in Quebec did not necessarily leave Quebec.
Right.
So many of them actually became entrepreneurs, and they either started biotech companies or they started CROs. That explains in large part why Quebec is so rich in terms of biotech services providers. And so the expertise is there, and I don't know, I guess the mindset is also very entrepreneurial. Obviously, the cost to start a CRO is not the same as starting a new biotech, so maybe less, more accessible. But it's true that we have, I think we have over 100 CROs now in Quebec, CROs at all levels, including CDMOs and CMOs, which is a lot for an ecosystem of our size. And to give you a sense of the scale, Bio-Quebec has 340 members on the roster, and about a third are CROs. So that's a very important segment for us.
Yeah, it really is.
But the industry in general has about 750 companies. So, but the CROs are a big chunk of that.
Yeah, and so you naturally, one would think that's a lot of CROs in a region. There must be business to sustain that and continue to grow. Why has outside, certainly expertise is a big part of it, why they're there, but why have they been successful, and why do companies maybe from the United States look to partner with a CRO out of Montreal?
I think, first and foremost, the quality of the work is really top-notch. It may sound like a bit of a cliche, but I mean, that's the basis of those business models. A service business model relies on its ability to deliver to the standard that is expected by the clients. But it's in the case of the Quebec ecosystem that there's no doubt about it. The quality of the science is there. But I think the fact that our ecosystem is a bit more nimble, maybe, there's a lot of relationship among the players. So when you select a CRO in Quebec and start working with them, what I see, based on conversations I have with both sponsors and the CROs, is the sponsors that select a CRO in Quebec discover that, okay, this is a great company to work with, but I didn't know that they had this AI capability available. We can even do our manufacturing here, including biologics, and so they discover a whole set of capabilities that didn't know it existed north of the border. So quality of the work, I think the attitude, the can-do attitude, and the ability to collaborate is very strong. And at the end of on top of that, I think Canada and Quebec in particular is very cost efficient. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cost efficient. There are all sorts of tax credit that can be used, but generally speaking, our cost base is fairly accessible compared to markets like here or San Diego, and that that our dollar is named the same, but not worth the same. So this is a factor, but I think the basis is not that. It's an add-on, but the quality of the work and the quality of the science is being,
for sure.
What it is. That helps. The reputation is there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned that in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, certainly in this industry, it is imperative that biotech companies learn how to get more out of their investment dollars, get them to that next inflection point. So clearly important to be partnering where they can get the best quality at the best price.
And let's talk about regulatory matters as well. I mean, Health Canada, that approves all the clinical trials, is pretty efficient now. They are changing their mindset very quickly. But today, it takes 30 days to get the CTA approval to run a clinical trial in Canada. ERBs can be very fast too. We estimate that to start a trial in Canada is about 4 to 8 weeks, everything included. So that's not that bad. I mean, it's actually quite good.
Right.
So that's another advantage. You're dealing with in an ecosystem that has a lot of value to bring to the table. And it's same time zone as Boston.
Right.
It's easy. The culture is not that different, although language is, but the business culture in Canada and Quebec is American largely, or let's say Anglo-Saxon.
For sure.
It's not French, I can't say. I mean, but I mean, it's the same mindset. Same, very straightforward, and so that makes it easier, I guess.
And I guess that helps. Our, geography is always part of the decision-making process, and as you're, as a startup biotech company or a large biopharma, I think that plays a role. So what do you think makes a particular region geographically better for a company maybe from Boston or from the United States?
You mean what attracts a company for a particular geography?
Yeah.
I think, time zone is definitely a big factor.
Yeah.
It's easier to synchronize, management or project management meetings. Again, the business culture is quite similar.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with totally different, it's a different legal system for sure, but it's close enough. So I think the mindset is, the legal mindset is pretty close. I mean, from Boston to drive to Montreal is about 5.5 hours,
That's
so that's
very close.
Not that far. You can drive, you don't need to fly. So, those are advantages that make sense for a big hub like Massachusetts. And mind you, the capabilities in Massachusetts are unlimited. You have everything here too. But the reality is no one can do everything by themselves now. So
right.
You got to go where the specific expertise you're looking for is. If you are in a more later stage company and you need to run clinical, you need to go where the patients are. So it's an advantage to be to have a broader reach than just what you have here around the corner. So I think that's a big advantage. That explains why we have so much relationship going on. And I think it's interesting to note too. we do have a lot of service providers, CROs, and you'd be surprised to see how many of them, essentially work in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Canada is a market for biotech. There's a lot of companies out there, but it's a fragmented market.
Yeah.
So for a CRO, the U.S. market is very efficient because we have a high concentration. But as a trade association, though, we're doing a lot of efforts now to make sure that our own biotech don't assume that they will not find their expertise in Quebec or in Canada and go straight to San Diego, to Boston. So we still have to work at home, to make sure we maximize the returns. So maybe in a way, our biotech services provider community is kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Even at home, it's not that well known. So that's why we appreciate the opportunity to to work with you and make sure that your members, your members remember that they should look up north.
Yeah, for sure.
Not exclude north. Yeah, they can go to Australia, and they have good reasons for that in some cases. But maybe it's easier to deal with Quebec and Canada.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful point, and I think if I put myself in the shoes of an early stage biotech company, they're looking for the full life cycle, right? We talk about development, clinical trial, and ultimately commercialization and manufacturing. Is that a strength of the region?
Yes. On our website, on BioQuebec website, we published recently, or it's about to be updated recently, so I'm not sure if the version is yet on the website, but we have produced a graph which lists all our members' capabilities along the development pathway. So from research, early stage discovery to commercialization. So you see all the service providers we have and where they are active and along the chain.
Yeah.
You can put to market a product, whether it's a medical device or a therapeutic, a vaccine, or some other health application, from start to finish in Quebec, all the capabilities are here.
That's great, and I've had a chance I've had a chance to visit and do some site tours up in Montreal and connect with a lot of the local life sciences leadership. What I loved about it is the sort of collaboration feeling that you get, whether you're with a CRO or CDMO or even CRO to CRO. It feels like there's a culture of collaboration, and I'm sure BioQuebec and you, Benoit, play a role in that. So talk a little bit about the vibe and the culture of the biotech scene and how the collaboration really helps these companies.
Yeah, I think it's a very good, very strong aspect of our ecosystem. Like I mentioned at the beginning, the collaboration mindset is there, the attitude is there. Quebec is a fairly close-knit community. We're not a big province. We're not the largest province in Canada, with its distinct history. The French culture is not the same as in the rest of Canada. So I think generally speaking, Quebecers tend to operate much more on a community basis than maybe in other places where people tend to move and change. Move from one hub to the other. In Quebec, it's a bit more stable, I would say.
Yeah.
And there are historical reasons why the relationship really matters most. It's not to say that it's perfect and there's no competition. There is a lot of competition internally. For sure. But at the end of the day, it's a global business. And generally speaking, in our ecosystem, people tend to... I'm not sure what's the expression in English, but they tend to, stay close.
Yes, close knit.
Close knit.
Yeah, I love that. And so, I'd love to hear from you as we kind of wind this down. from your perspective, what is something that you wish more people knew about the industry in Quebec, what you're doing as an organization, or what the companies in your region are doing? What is the one thing you wish people knew more about?
Well, first, I wish they knew more about the fact that what we do in Quebec in the life sciences sector is top-notch quality. And when you look at it and you start digging a little bit, you realize that we have so many molecules that went at some point in their development stage through a Quebec lab. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that. We actually publish on our website a list of all the links between academia, biotech, pharma, big pharma, and it's a pretty big network of assets that move across the lines. So we had a lot of success with exit over the last few years, but people don't necessarily realize that the work was actually done in Quebec.
Yeah.
If I take preclinical drug development, for example, Quebec has a huge market share because we have big CROs, preclinical CROs in Quebec, much more than our little share of the population. Mm-hmm. But people don't realize that. So Quebec is already a drug development powerhouse, but mm-hmm. it's not. People don't realize it. So they should.
Excellent. And that's why we're here today at R&D Reimagined. We greatly appreciate the support for you and the organizations that you brought today, because, you know, the whole purpose of this and the role that we play as ecosystem conveners is to help create these pathways. And at the end of the day, we need these therapies to be developed quickly, efficiently, so ultimately they will reach a patient, and that's, I think, at the end of the day, most important to us all. Yeah. So
patients are patients, no matter where they are, where their postal code is.
Absolutely. Well,
so yes, it's a truly global industry.
So Benoit, you know, people have learned a lot about doing business in biotech in Quebec. How do they learn more, and how the best way to reach out to you?
Well, there's a great opportunity that is opening up next year. Bio-Quebec is organizing a big conference called Bio Horizon 2026 in October with the Montreal In Vivo Hub, which we partner with for that event, and we expect a large number of participants from Quebec, Canada, and we invite our international friends to come visit us at that time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Benoit.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.